I was happier in prison with nothing than I had ever been on the street with millions of dollars. I met better people, and I was surrounded by better people in prison than I'd ever been on the street with all these fake people that supposedly cared about me.
Did you see that post I made the other day where I said sometimes I miss prison? It's because of that shit right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
Listen, all out of the friends that I have, I would say, as much as you could say, Wade, is a friend of mine. Like, as much as, a Facebook friend is a friend. Like we text and we whatever. I would consider him a friend. Other than Wade, I don't have any friends that I wasn't locked up with.
Right.
All my good friends that are out here on the street that I still contact, I don't even make an attempt to have any other friends. Like, these are guys that I did significant time with, that I trust and I like and I enjoy, and we have a common struggle.
Right.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, it's funny too, because I talk to these guys, like I text these guys and I talk to these guys, but if I meet somebody, that wasn't locked up, that I don't really have, I don't really reach out to be friends with anybody other than these guys. And they're guys I have similar interests with, but I don't really reach out to them or talk to them because, I don't think I don't think you really know yourself until you've just been in a horrific position.
I agree. No,
So
I got it.
Yeah. I think that builds character. I think that long, I would rather be living in someone's spare room than committing fraud and be living in a nice big house, because I'd be surrounded with a bunch of fake people that were only with me because they were leeching off of me or because they thought I was a big shot, and it's all fake.
Right.
My dad thought I was super successful, but it was all fraud.
Right.
Like, yeah, I'm a successful thief. Like, I didn't make this money. I mean, I worked hard for it to a degree. I was clever and I tricked the banks into doing this and doing that, but that's not like that. That's not like building a business and working the right way to make it, turn into something.
Well, and
that's something to be proud of.
No, I got you. And that leads into, I guess we're going to close things out, but.
And I knew this was going to happen, by the way. So I got tissue.
Good.
I knew you would do some shit like this.
It's, I look at what you do, man. And we talked about that force of will. We talked about that desperation, how that desperation equates to people like you and me being able to solve problems. You get out of prison, and let's be fucking honest. You get out of prison, and if you're like me, you got no hope of doing much of anything.
Yeah,
but that
McDonald's.
desperation, McDonald's. If you're lucky.
Yeah, I was okay with McDonald's.
Yeah, I couldn't get McDonald's. But you put that desperation into that whole mindset that you just said of making money slowly builds character. So you roll that desperation with that force of will that we know that you've got, and now you've got Inside True Crime with Matt Cox. And by God, it's pretty damn successful.
Yeah, it's doing pretty good. It's funny. Good. It's funny. I was talking to my wife. Somebody made a crack the other day, and they said, "Well, you're lucky you got out and you blew up." And I thought,
you didn't blow up. You worked hard.
Yeah, and I said, like, this person said this, and I thought, she said it like it was that easy. Like, do you realize that for 5 years prior to getting into prison, I wrote stories?
Right.
I didn't write stories because even when I wrote the stories, keep in mind, I'd never been on YouTube. YouTube came out like a year before I got locked up. I'd never been on it. The word podcast was created in 2009. I had to have somebody explain to me what a podcast is, and I still didn't quite understand until I watched it. Right. They're like, it's like a radio program, but it's in parts. And I'm like, I don't understand. And they play music, and I'm like, what? So I'm reading articles, and guys are telling me this is what you have to do. You know, you're writing these true crime stories. What do you expect to happen? I'm like, I don't know. You know, it's like I was sitting, to give you an example, one time this guy was like, I want you to write my story. And I remember he goes, I'll give you half of whatever I'd make. And I go, of course. And he's like, pretty good, right? I was like, of course you're going to give me. I said, bro, that was never even a question. Like, you're lucky I don't take 70%. He's like, well, I was going to write it when I get out. I said, really? You've been locked up 7 years. You haven't written it.
Right.
You think you're going to have time rebuilding your life when you're going to write it? You can't even write. I ended up saying to him, look, here's what I'm going to do. If I can get you, I'm going to write a synopsis of your story, a short version, send it to some reporters, try and get you some kind of some media attention, because he'd never been, there was no articles, there was nothing.
Right.
Just a good story. And he went, you think you can do that? And I said, I have no idea if I can do it, but I know I have the time to try. Right. So if I can get you into a magazine or get some articles written about you, then I'll write your story. And I said, and I have the time to spend for a month to write an article on you. So I write his article. I send it out to about 8 or 9 different reporters. I get one reporter that's interested. That reporter says he wants to put it on a magazine called Media Magazine, an online magazine. I said, no, I said, you write for Rolling Stone. I sent it to you because you write for Rolling Stone. Get it in Rolling Stone. He goes, well, it's not that easy. I said, yeah, I understand. It's not that easy, but I said, at least go to them and offer to get it in there. He's like, well, I can get it right in this magazine. And I said, listen, bro, I don't mind if it goes on this magazine, but I need you to try and get it into Rolling Stone. Like, I don't have a problem with failure. I have a problem with you not trying. And he goes, all right, fine, I'll try. He comes back a week later and he says, it's going to be in Rolling Stone magazine. They loved it. It was in Rolling Stone magazine. We optioned the film rights. I get a check for like $7,000. I didn't know if that's going to work.
Right.
I end up getting a book deal, $3,500 advance. In prison, that's a ton of money. So, you know, I wrote all of these stories thinking to myself, maybe I can do something with this. And if I can't, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I like doing it. I enjoy writing. I enjoy interacting with criminals and hearing their stories and writing their stories and learning about their stories and learning about their personalities. And if that pays my bills, that's great. But if it doesn't, then that's okay. I was happy when I got out of prison. When I got out of the halfway house, I lived in someone's spare room for 18 months. I'll tell you right now, I was just as happy in that spare room as I am sitting right here in this house.
Right.
Like, nothing.
I get it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't change.
I get it.
And I was just as happy in prison. So, you know, although
That's
I do
what people
like
don't,
having a life.
No, I got, and people don't understand that. Yeah. Unless you've served time, people don't understand that you can be happy in prison. They don't get that.
Yeah. And even when I first got locked up, I think I've told you this story. The guy told me when I was complaining, bitching and moaning, I've been locked up a couple months. He said, yeah, I know. I was like, man, I can't believe that. I can't do that. They're telling me they're going to give me like 20, 30 years. Like, oh my God. And he said, yeah, I know. He said, and I know you don't believe this right now. This guy had done like 10 or 15 years and he had like 5 more years. And this guy was just the coolest guy. And he said, I know you don't believe this, but there will be a time where you will be sitting around with a bunch of guys laughing your fucking ass off. And you will think to yourself, there's no place I'd rather be. And I remember I looked at him and I thought, you're fucking nuts. That's never going to happen. Look at these guys. I want to say 5 years later, we were playing Risk, me and about 3 or 4 other guys. The soda guys coming around, bringing sodas. The hot dog guys, we're getting hot dogs. We're eating sodas. We're on the rec yard. We've been playing for fucking 6 hours straight. We're screaming at each other. Guys are backstabbing each other. Like, we have an agreement. You cannot invade Alaska. You fucking, hey, bro, what do you want me to do, man? She's a fucking, what choice do I have? I mean, we're laughing and we're dying laughing. And I remember thinking, no place I'd rather be.